And welcome back, everyone, to Who Would Win, the week of Who Would Win. This one comes to us from Josh Glover. Glover? I think it's Glover. Who asked the question, who would win a fight? David from the Lost Boys versus Valek from John Carpenter's Vampires. Look, it's two vampires, and they generally have roughly the same abilities as each other. Though Valek can levitate upon his own accord. I don't remember David doing that off the top of my head, though he might have been able to do that. Enhanced physicality, though, is on both the table here. Enhanced jumping that looked like levitating. But I can't remember. It's been so long since I've watched Lost Boys. And when I looked up power sets for these guys, that wasn't listed on our David. But let's, for argument's sake, say that he all does have it. Because there's scenes in the movie, I remember, that do look similar to that. So they both have heightened physicality. They both have heightened senses, a form of immortality. They also have the ability to cast illusions to some degree, seduction techniques as they, persuasive, the vampire charm and all that. So, you have two individuals who are basically the same type of being, and even in terms of vampires, have the same general set of abilities. Some vampires have different abilities to others depending on the medium. So who ultimately wins the fight? Well, I think it comes down to simply what type of vampire they both are. Valek is a master vampire. David is not. What I mean by that is the master vampire, and we know for a fact master vampires exist in the Lost Boys world, because that is a plot point of the Lost Boys, is that they had to kill the master vampire. Master vampire is, obviously anyone who's watching this probably knows what it is, but for those who don't know what it is, a master vampire, my best explanation, is one of those things, I know what a master vampire is, it's one of those things I know what it is, but I've never actually had to verbally explain it, so I had to actually think on the words I want to use here. A master vampire is essentially, isn't just the head vampire. This is, but it is the head vampire, but it's not just the head vampire. What I mean by that is something like Dracula would be a master vampire, a progenitor vampire, a vampire that spawns other vampires, more or less. Now, a master vampire, it's in theory, it could even be like the first vampire ever. And in the case of Valek, John Carpenter's vampires, that is actually what his origin is, that he is the first vampire ever. But in the case of Lost Boys, it's not quite the same thing. Max was the name of the character. Max, as far as I know, isn't like the first vampire ever. In fact, I think in some lores I read, he's actually the brother of Vlad, aka Dracula. So a master vampire isn't necessarily the very first vampire, but it is a progenitor vampire. It's the vampire that basically spawns other vampires, is much more powerful, and is the controller of other vampires. And if you theoretically kill the master vampire, you can actually alleviate the curse of lesser vampires. Not all straight vampires, but in case of Lost Boys, half vampires. You alleviate the curse of being a half vampire in that case. And that's really the issue here, is that Valek is a master vampire. Now, obviously, he's not the one who spawned David, but he is still a vampire that is a degree much higher than David is. Think actually something akin to True Blood, where the strength of a vampire is solely dependent on how old they are. The older the vampire, the much stronger they are. I actually did watch, I think, the first 2 seasons of True Blood. I can't remember how much of True Blood I actually watched, but I did watch some of it. I didn't watch it all. But, I didn't watch the Warlow stuff. After that, I kind of, fell off bandwagon. But, Eric Northman, he's about 1,000 years old, whereas Bill is, only a low hundreds, because he's, was from, I believe, was it the Civil War or the Revolutionary War? I can't remember which one. I think it was the Revolutionary War. I think it was the Civil War. I take it back. Again, I can't remember how old Bill Compton was. I know he was he was in the hundreds. I think he was 117, something like that. Give me 1 second. True Blood. That's something I want to know. How old was he? Because this is a completely separate topic, but yeah. True Blood Bill. True Blood Bill. Let's see here. Bill Compton was, age-wise, age, he was 179 plus. Okay, yeah, and he was turned at the age 30. That makes sense. Yeah, I knew he was much older than like just the low hundreds. I didn't think he was like multiple hundreds of years old. But yeah, he's 179 years old, whereas Eric Northman is, and I actually got him right here, which is great. Eric Northman was a full 1,000 years old, like over 1,100 years old. He is nearly, not 10 times, but he's like 5 times. No, actually, math. 1 second. He's about 6 times older than Bill, and that translates to strength in their world. Whereas Godric, the guy who turned Eric, was like 3,000 years old. Same with and I can't remember that vampire who was like the king vampire of the area. He was also like 3,000 years old. So he was far, and even though he didn't look it comparatively, he could easily whip both Bill and Eric in a fight. So age translates to strength. It's a very similar thing with master vampires. The older you are, the stronger you are, and you clearly have, abilities that are beyond that of the standard vampires that come out later on in life. So I think this is just being him, and I think David is one of those individuals, despite his nature, that he doesn't go against the guy who turns him, or he doesn't go against authority. So if he realizes this is a master vampire, he just might straight out back down from the fight. If he doesn't, well, he could try to put up a fight, but honestly, Valek could just put an arm through him and be done with it. Just would take his heart out, all the good stuff. So ultimately, yeah, I would go Valek in this fight. But that is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below if you feel differently. And if you do, that's cool. We're all friends here. Until the next watch, I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.